management. That's what I did.
Go ahead, please. Okay, I'm recording.
And now I'm not doing much. I'm just enjoying my free time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Victor, good to see you. And I remember Kelly. Okay, welcome back. Okay, yeah, okay. So would you say hello just briefly to friends?
Yes, good morning again, everyone. Nice to see you. I'm here from the Carter School of Peace and Conflict. We were excited about celebrating the 100th birthday of Jimmy Carter yesterday. So that was exciting. It's good to see everyone.
Okay, good to see you.
Hi, Kelly.
Okay,
Hi,
yeah,
Crystal.
Christelle, okay. So would you say a few words about your celebration?
Well, we just acknowledged it at this point. We had articles on our website, etc., about this momentous occasion. And of course, there was White House celebration, etc. So we were excited just to, and we'll probably do something later in the month. I'm happy to share it with you all at a later date.
Okay. Okay, Oliver looks young. Okay, I think I met you before, right? Okay, where
Yes.
are you from?
UK, yeah. I came like 2 years ago. I think that's yes, briefly I remember. Yeah.
Okay. Welcome back. Okay, welcome back.
Thank you.
And some other members, okay, who arrived here, okay, from Spain, Manuel Vidal, Dr. Manuel Vidal, and from Japan, Echuko, Mary Echuko, Jack, Japan. Okay, so okay, everybody, welcome to our forum. Okay, so today's topic is, very interesting. Particularly the what history education and empowerment of youth education through the what Asia Pacific Peace Museum. The Alpha Education, is an international NGO based in Toronto. The headquarters is Toronto, and my History NGO Forum. We have been associate as a partner for a long time, okay, for a long time. And here today's speaker, the Flora Chong, Executive Director of Alpha Education. She attended our conference, our conference. I remember 3 or 4 times. Also, 2010. Our History NGO Forum, first time, our overseas conference, it was held in.
여기가 저기에 고구마 있다.
Okay.
먹으려면 먹어.
정 선생님. Okay.
고구마.
Unmute. I should get.
여기
Where is him?
마이크로오븐.
Oh, here. Okay. So, yeah. We are not get used to this new system. Okay. Anyway, but particularly, today as a speaker, in fact, I wanted to invite her to be to this forum last June. But the last June, as you know, there was a big event in Toronto at the grand opening of the Asia Pacific History Museum. Okay, that is the first time of its kind out of the Asia. Okay, Asia, right? And also, my History NGO Forum, we held our big conference in Balkan, okay, including Bulgaria and some other 7 or 5 countries in the Balkan area. So we couldn't pay attention to this forum at that time. So I asked her to postpone it, okay, and I invited her to be a speaker. And I really, on behalf of all members, I give sincere congratulations, okay, on your grand opening of your Asia Pacific Peace Museum. It took around 5 years, okay, since I remember starting of this, project. And today, okay, the moderator, I invite the moderator, our regular member, okay, my history and my Global Thursday Forum steering committee member, one of the steering committee member, Professor Bernard, okay, Professor Bernard Carganilla, okay, I invited him to be our regular member, okay. So briefly, I will introduce today's moderator, and my moderator will introduce today's speaker, okay. Today's moderator, our regular member of this forum and our Philippine partner, okay, Philippine partner. Also, 2018, I remember, 18 or 16, okay, the Bonatti, you remember, we held our, the conference in Manila, and at the time, our co-organizing committee of the, this conference, Professor Bernard and also other members, we worked together, okay? We had a very successful conference in Manila. Also, Cynthia here, as the Ministry of the Tourism, she also worked, the support our conference, okay? I really appreciate. Professor Bernard Magno Carganilla from the Philippines, he's teaching at University of the Philippines, Manila campus, okay? Particularly the program of the graduate program of management. And his corporate secretary of Hunters ROTC, History Society, is an NGO based in Manila, okay, Philippines. He's also columnist, Malaya Business Insight, a Philippine national newspaper. And he's a lifetime member and the board of director, International Honor Society of Phi Kappa Phi Chapter 054, okay, 045, okay, Philippine, Asia. Also, he is the director and the spokesman of Philippine Council of Management, okay, and he is the author of, several books, okay. Okay, so I'm very honored to invite, today's moderator from the Philippines, okay, Professor Bernardo Carganilla, okay. And as you know, particularly today the speaker, Flora Chong, Ms. Flora Chong, Executive Director of Alpha Education, okay, and we had our, some exchange program, and we are associated with each other through this program. And I already invited her to our forum, this Thursday forum, 2 or 3 times as a speaker, right? But today, on a special occasion of the, since the grand opening of the Peace Museum, okay, Peace Museum, and I would like to learn, know more about this museum and how to they use it, okay? They utilize it, and particularly the youth program, and what particularly the history of Asian World War II, okay, period in America, in North America, is very important, okay? History education and peace education. So today's moderator, okay, Professor Bernardo Carganilla, okay, okay, I will turn this, microphone to you, and podium is yours, floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world right now. Our conference in Manila was 2018, so and I teach all sorts of subjects. So if, for example, I'm able to share something in our forum not later than October 2018, I can guarantee 200 students from undergrad to grad. Our speaker for today, I'm sharing. You can see the write-up She mentioned earlier, Sung Ho, Flora Chong is the Executive Director of Alpha Education of Toronto, Canada. Back in the late 1990s, registered NGO, and it is of particular interest to us because their mandate is for a critical understanding of World War II history. And so, in fact, the president of our Hunters ROTC Historical Society is launching a book on World War II this October. So, Flora Chong is an advocate and a visionary for peace that is built on action. And together with her teammates and volunteers, there have been projects spearheaded. And if you go to their website, you can see, the drop-down menu. Their initiatives in education, research, and youth empowerment for 2 decades now. And we are glad to note that Flora Chong has met many World War II survivors in Asia. But we must also note that many of the events of World War II are now in their 80th year. So we are starting to transit from collective memory to communicative memory. And part of both collective and communicative memory is the very presence of the Wong Avery Asia Pacific Peace Museum. So I urge everyone to visit their website. So that in a nutshell is our speaker for tonight. Flora Chong, up in the north in the Dominion of Canada. So thank you, and Flora Chong, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you, Sun Ho, for inviting me to make this presentation and get the chance to share the museum, the great news with everyone here. And thank you, Bernard, for introducing me. And I have to also thank you for helping one of our summer intern who researched I think it's 2 years ago, she's researching on the Manila massacre. And I seek your help. She was in Manila and trying to do research. So thank you so much, Bernard. And we hope we can continue our collaboration in education in the future. Thank you. So I don't think I have to introduce Alpha Education furthermore. So I will go directly into today's presentation. Hello, everyone. It's my pleasure to meet some longtime friends and new friends this morning. Thank you for your presence. So, empowering you through the Asia Pacific Peace Museum, a historical educational initiative. I have to say that this is not a new initiative to empower youth. Throughout the projects of Alpha, our educational programs, we have lots of youth programs that is geared to empower youth. Actually, empowering youth is one of the 4 directions that Alpha is launching in the past 20 plus years, alongside with enhancing the educators' knowledge and students' understanding and connecting with communities, and also to engage researchers. So, but today our focus is on the newly opened Asia Pacific Peace Museum. Okay. The question of how to preserve and educate a younger generation about a dark episode of human history is a vital question for historians, academics, and educators alike. The same as to ask how to bring our younger generations closer to the pathway of peace and during the teaching of a war history. The recent completion of the Asia Pacific Peace Museum confronts these questions head-on. The museum not only carries a purpose of educating students and youth about a dark, often marginalized, but important aspect of World War II history, it also attempts to inspire and empower young people to take part in peace-building efforts and movements. Before we explore how the museum addresses these needs, let's have a closer encounter with the Asia Pacific Peace Museum with the following poem. I want to read this poem to you. This poem was written by Joy Kogawa, a renowned award-winning Japanese-Canadian author and poet in Canada. And she wrote several poems dedicating to the Asia Pacific Peace Museum. She is also my very good friend. And this museum is presented in our museum website, and I want to read for you because this museum accurately captures the soul and the meaning of the museum. All right, I start. This museum is dedicated to peace, but there can be no peace without an acknowledgement of historical facts. This museum is dedicated to the struggle for a world without war, but there can be no absence of war without our knowing the suffering of the other. This museum is dedicated to a better future for our children, but this future cannot arrive without the dream and the labor of forgiveness. This museum exists because of the joy that underlies the trust that goodness is inextinguishable and will triumph, by Joy Kogawa. So the APPM, we call it APPM, is the Asia Pacific Peace Museum, was a dream and a challenging undertaking of Alpha Education. And I don't think I need to go into the work of Alpha in the past 20 years, but this slide probably will show, it is now in a museum that shows the journey of Alpha Education since 1997. And the last part of this journey, it shows the 7 years of work in building the museum, from conceptualization to completion. And the museum lasted for 7 years. Fundraising, planning, research, curation, design, production, and every stage it took numerous iterations because we know that it is very important for us to make this everything accurate, everything authentic, and this museum will be able to engage and inspire our younger generations. I want to show you the upcoming video that can provide a glimpse of the process of making the Asia Pacific Peace Museum. It's just 2 minutes, but it summarizes 7 years of work. Please enjoy. Thank you. So I hope this video will provide you with a very brief understanding and a closer look into the different setup of the museum. Actually, teaching of World War II in Asia has been marginalized, and in Canada, and I guess it's the same as in the United States, in North America. World War II has been very Eurocentric, and the part in Asia is mostly absent in curriculum, in research arena, and so on. So over the years, actually, there are a lot of people who are so courageous to continue the work to participate in the overall memory of preserving the memory of World War II in Asia, and we are very grateful for that. The Asia, I used to call the Asia Pacific Peace Museum as the APPM. That's our anonym. So the museum is the first of its kind, as Sang Ho and Bernard talk about it. It's first kind that provides a comprehensive understanding of the history of World War II in Asia for English-speaking audiences outside of Asia. And the museum covers 10 themed galleries. As you can see here is the first level of the museum, 10 themed galleries in 3 main episodes. So these are the 3 main parts, the political context in East and Southeast Asia before the war, pre-war context. And the second part is the scourges of war and the human atrocities. And the last part is the post-war reflection, which is located on the second level. The second level also have a program space for students after the school visits. I'm not going to explain the theme and contents of each of the exhibits. You will be able to read all this information from our museum website. Actually, you just click to AsiaPacificPeaceMuseum.com. You will see the description for each of the gallery and also the rough layout. But I would like to share with you the underlying values, principles, and goals that we want to achieve in curating the exhibits. I think that's even more important, to share with you all this, because those are also the guiding principles for us, how to empower young people through the museum. Okay, so I start with part 1, the pre-war political context. War don't happen overnight. So it is important for our young visitors to see the connection of political, social, and economic trajectories to its connection to Imperial Japan's military aggression in Asia during that historical period. To understand why Imperial Japan started its invasion of Northeast China in 1931, which a lot of scholars will make this day as the beginning of World War II in Asia, we also need to expand the time horizon to the 1830s, when Japan, China, and Korea were all forced to open their ports to Western colonial powers and signed unequal treaties. We also need to know how these historical events connect to the power struggles and finally Imperial Japan's military aggression against its neighbors. We also need to understand how the spirits of racial supremacy, militarism, colonialism, and imperialism was progressively nurtured in Imperial Japan and infiltrated to the minds of even the 5 years old. Charmaine, can I have the next, the timeline, the pre-war timeline? Thank you. Yeah. So you can see this is the beginning of our pre-war exhibits. We don't start right on in 1931, but we want to explore what happened to Korea, Japan, and China since 1830s. Their involvement, so imperialism did not start with the Japan or colonialism. It started a long time ago with the Western imperial or colonial powers. So all this, I just mentioned about the move on with, we will have a room talking about the racial supremacy, militarism, colonialism, and so on. All this with so-called prerequisites of war seems so familiar. They were not just unique to Imperial Japan. Throughout human history, we see examples of how countless military aggression of governments are founded on the spirit and belief in this, in racial supremacy, in militarism, colonialism, and imperialism. By understanding all this, we hope the young minds would be able to discern, judge, and be alert of the present-day conflicts that we are all facing. So therefore, at the end of this pre-war gallery, we pose this question for the young visitors to contemplate before they continuing on to the galleries on the scourges of war and human atrocities. How did the rise of militarism, imperialism, and colonialism lead to devastating human atrocities that they are going to explore when they continue the exhibitions? And after that, we move on to part two. Part two portrays the scourges of war. Violence against humanity committed during the war, such as massacres, sexual slavery system, biological and chemical warfare, abuse of prison of war, and civilian forced labors, have caused millions of deaths and immeasurable suffering to tens of millions in Asia. It is very challenging to tell the painful truth. On one hand, we cannot mince the words. We do not want the young visitors, but on the other, we do not want the young visitors to be overwhelmed by the intense brutality and lose sight of the intent of the exhibits to seek pathways to peace. So it is a very challenging work for us to balance, because when we are doing the research, we saw piles and piles of photos that shows the intense brutality against the people. But on the other hand, the museum is for education, it's for peace. So that's why we don't want our visitors, especially our students, to be overwhelmed and thought that it is like a war museum, or we are focusing on the brutality. So in order to tackle all this, in order for us to work on that, the museum has adopted different approaches in tackling with such a challenge. One of them is to take a human-centered approach. By sharing personal stories of those who were afflicted, oppressed, and violated, history is no longer merely a collection of data and facts. The struggles, pain, and trauma of the oppressed can be resonated with many people, regardless of their geographic location, ethnic background, or nationality. Visitors can read, watch, and even interact with survivors through AI programming to encounter individuals who lived through the war as a human being. These living stories compelled us to confront difficult truths of the past and inspire us to affirm the values of humanity and peace. On the left-hand side, you see the screen showing Grandma Pang. She is a former combat woman, a victim, and she was interviewed This program was developed by Shaw Foundation in California. They developed this AI programming with live interaction with survivors of the Holocaust. And they so gratefully, they also conduct similar research on certain victims of the Japanese military sexual slavery, some Koreans and Chinese as well. So they are willing to share with us their program so that visitors can actually talk and get response from this grandma. And we also use the personal stories that you can see on the right-hand side. So another approach is to highlight human tenacity that exemplified by the survivors. Young visitors are encouraged by the perseverance of many survivors. You can see in this exhibit corner that we are highlighting how survivors turn to activists. These survivors courageously testify their experiences despite facing the challenges of bearing physical and emotional scars, social stigmatism, and discrimination. For example, the spirits of many comfort women survivors seeking post-war justice and redress have inspired many young people to join the movement to fight against the violence casted on women. So you can see quite a number of works that have been done by international communities to break the silence. And these positive spirits, actually, they are inspiring to a lot of young people who are willing to take part in the peace movement and seeking justice for all those victims. So we'd like to go to the part 3 of the museum is about post-war reflection. A significant portion of the museum focuses on not just on what happened during the war, but also what happened before and after, such as the shift in political dynamics after the war, the starting of the Cold War. These contests have a lot of meaning and impact on the present and future. Through historical inquiry, young visitors are inspired to reflect beyond war and suffering, and they are challenged to seek answers to the questions like, has justice been served to the victims after the war? Why the historical memory of World War II in Asia has been minimized, marginalized, or even forgotten in many parts of the world? Or questions like, if historical memory is contested, what is at stake? These are the questions, reflection questions that we want the young people to contemplate, to think about while they are strolling along the exhibits. Actually, all these prompts and space for reflection is not limited to our post-war exhibit space. Questions, quotes, poems, and art pieces that provoke critical and historical thinking are present in every gallery. So you can see on the right-hand side a poem written by Joy Kogawa. This poem is situated right next to a wall of portraits of victims during massacres, not only in the Nanjing massacre, but also in Manila massacre in Singapore. The Sucheng massacre is right beside it. Never again must we forget that we are one. We also commit crimes. We who commit crimes, we who condemn crimes, all who suffer are one. We are not the same, but we are one in our creaturehood. When we harm the other, we harm ourselves in our unseeing. So we hope that this type of gestures poems or artworks will help engage our young visitors, and hopefully they can think and rethink about the purpose and the meaning of knowing about history, about a war history. In the middle is a poem that we put right on top of the atomic bomb explosion. And this is a poem written by a Japanese poet in the 70s. The title is When We Say Hiroshima. You may not be able to read it, but for the first verse, the poem is about when we mention about Hiroshima, we need to know the other happenings prior to Hiroshima, prior to the atomic bomb. So it is also very powerful, the poem that is let us think about when we understand one happenings in history, we need to see also the causes of that happenings, and hopefully by understanding the cause, then we will able to reflect. And okay, the last part of all exhibits in the museum is dedicated to peace. So after we have the reflection, but the last part, this is dedicated to peace. Our younger generations need the encouragement and understanding that despite the barriers and challenges to justice and peace, we cannot lose hope. So that's why we have put together the people, memorials, and museums that we contributed to the historical memory of World War II in Asia. Charmaine, please go to the next slide. Yes, thank you. This is a memory map that we created. It's a digital one and interactive as well. In this map, we collect all people, memorials, and museums that has contributed to the historical memory of World War II in Asia. And through this digital memory map, we want to pay tribute to all those who played a role. And you can see it here, their icons showing advocates, museum, and also memorials through scattered in a global map. We can see where we have those memorials. When we are touching on certain atrocities, we classified into different human atrocities or topics. Say, for example, the top one is Japanese military sexual slavery. Then we see that there's statues in Korea or other places. And in Japan, there are museums in Japan who commemorate this. And when we click into that icon, more information of that particular institution or memorial or the peace activist will be shown. So creating this digital map actually has taken us a lot of research time, and we hope that we can collect as many as possible. We cannot say that it is exhaustive, but as many as possible. So if any one of you know any memorial or people who has contributed to the memory of World War II in Asia or museum, please let us know, and we will definitely include that into this memory map. Okay, so that is the three parts of the museum that I hope by showing you the different highlights feature in the exhibits. At the same time, I also explained to you how we can use our curation, the design, and all the exhibits to empower young people to reflect and to take action. And to recap, I want to to recap the values of the Asia Pacific Peace Museum, which you have, of course, you have already seen this. The first one, the values that the APPM upholds are centered on remembrance, peace, and education. These values are central to our curation design and even the choice of wordings and images. So the first one for remembrance, the Asia Pacific Peace Museum is a people's museum that provides a space to remember all who perished during the war and to give voice to the voiceless. The Asia Pacific Peace Museum values experiences and sufferings of victims throughout Asia, including the Japanese people. And the second one is peace. The APPM values the understanding of both the dark and bright sides of humanity. Having seen the affliction of war on people and the inspiring stories of humanitarians and those who persevered, young visitors are inspired to make their own choice if they want to be a blockade or a catalyst for peace building. And the last one is for education. The museum is not just built for visitors. It is meant for teachers and students. So we develop a lot of guidelines and prompts for the teachers to bring the students to the museum. Here are the 4 guidelines we have produced. And the teaching to make sure that the teaching of World War II history in Asia is not just about dissemination of knowledge. It is about nurturing historical thinking, empathy, compassion, and taking action for the weak, suppressed, and for peace. The APPM will serve as a platform for humanity education in a subject area that is little taught and not well understood, especially in the Western world. And I also want to recap the APPM principles. Grounded on the premise of peace education, exhibit contents and design are founded on the principles of authenticity, equity, justice, compassion, and respect. And also, as a museum wholly funded by private donors, business and foundations, all contents and curation of the exhibits are independent of influences of any stakeholders or governments. Okay, the last section of my presentation exemplifies how young people empower through the APPM in a more direct way. But actually, the presentations that I just shared have also showed different ways for us to use. But here, I want to finalize my presentation with all this. So I want to show you a video, a few minutes video that explain why it is so important for us to learn, understand, and contemplate about this living history. Sanho, is that, do I still have time, or I'm exceeding my time?
Oh, yeah, you can speak more, okay?
Okay, thank you. Okay.
You can conclude.
Okay, great, thank you. So please, Charmaine, please play the video.
What was World War II in Asia? Life for most Asians was ordinary, harsh, and challenging. Few anticipated the war atrocities and unrestrained violence that they would experience. World War II meant many things to many people. To over 50 million men, women, and children, it meant death. To hundreds and millions more in the occupied areas and theaters of combat, the war meant hell on earth, suffering and grief, often with little, if any, awareness of a cause or reason beyond the terrifying events of the moment. The Second World War happened in Europe and Asia. Yet how much do we know about this war in the Pacific Theater? Between 1931 to 1945, Imperial Japan invaded countries and territories that are currently known as East and Southeast Asia, where the brutal scourges of war were over a large area of the Earth's surface, causing death to 23 million and suffering, pain, and anguish to 99 million civilians and combatants, with legacy impact over generations.
All these stones, thousands and thousands of them representing the victims. When I close my eyes, I can almost hear their screams.
The painful experiences of the millions in invaded and occupied territories are absent, overlooked, and almost forgotten. As with the reasons why Japan decided and engaged in a war of large-scale displacement and devastation. Many desire this war to remain forever forgotten, not recognizing that such atrocities happened, without any space for those who lived through that time of war to be remembered. No space for remembering a world history on human tragedy, on endurance, resilience, and hope. Never again must we forget that we are one. We who commit crimes, we who condemn crimes, all who suffer are one. We are not the same, but we are one in our creaturehood. When we harm the other, we harm ourselves in our unseeing. Joy Kogawa.
Just a little child, they took it all away. Your blood, your life, your trust, your faith, you died, you were born in pain.
Why does World War II in Asia matter? This war should concern all, regardless of our background, ethnicity, or religion. It is a living history of our startling capacity for inhumanity and humanity, and of decisions and actions that rob people of their human dignity. In learning about this history, we also grapple with our individual and collective responsibility to the world, to protect human rights and foster peace building. The tapestry of themes, narratives, questions are of large-scale displacements and death. More important, they are about multi-layered struggles of courage, with hope and compassion for reconciliation and peace. Each encounter transforms the history of World War II in Asia as a subject into experiences to be lived and felt, centering individuals, families, communities of different groups of people harmed by weapons of war, including the nuclear bombs. Each encounter will inspire you to contemplate on our agency in building cultures of peace. Why is it important to remember? What ideologies and conditions enable a merciless war? What are the stories and voices of compassion, nonviolence, and hope standing against those that dehumanize? Confucius says to study the past if you want to define the future. How can you contribute to cultures of nonviolence and peace? At the end of your museum visit, leave your message for peace as an alternative to war preparation, war profiteering, and war violence. The heart of the Wong Avery Asia-Pacific Peace Museum is to nurture a global peace movement.
Thank you, Charmaine. Yeah. Well, the video we just made actually is whiffed by a lot of, you can see there are a lot of artworks. Those are made by the young students, teenage students, after they learn the history. This is part of the projects with us. And you also hear the background music, very powerful background music, is composed and performed by pianist. The name of this piece is called Tears of Nanjing, and she was very young, at the age of 13, when she composed and performed this piece of music. She's a Chinese American, and also you can see images of young people visiting the survivors in our study tour. So what you just saw in the video is combination of years of contribution by the young people. That this contribution of the young people will continue, and in preserving the memories of the history of World War II in Asia, and also they will be standing tall and high on guard of peace, not just on the history of World War II in Asia, but also to defend peace for the rest of the world in present day as well. These young people have been the driving forces for our education, and they will be. So this collage actually also has shown the participation of many young people, and they include young teachers, volunteers, and so on. Memory process not just involve the remembrance of the past, but it should be able to inspire those who are living at the present and in the future. The APPM is geared primarily for young people. Young visitors will be challenged to rethink the values of peace and justice and the possible contributions to peace building amidst intensified global conflicts that the world is facing. Not only it provides a physical space for the young people to learn and to think, the museum workshops for teachers and students after the visit also offer a safe emotional space for them to discuss, exchange, and dream for a peaceful world that they yearn for. At the end, I want to ask, Charmaine, can you go back to the slide? Thank you. Yeah, this is something that we want our young people to think about. How do the stories of these victims help us understand the significance of peace? Thank you. At the end of our museum exhibits, we will ask the visitors to leave a message or write what the feedback to two questions. One is, what makes peace possible? The other one is I make peace possible when I. So young people love to write their feedback on this wall. And I remember one that is only 11 years old. I told his mom when they get in, I told them that we recommend young people over at the age of 13 to come to this museum. But his mom said that he's okay. He loves history so much. So after 2.5 hours of visit, he came to this board and he wrote down the word empathy. So we are extremely, extremely touched by what an 11-year-old boy can feel after he finished the museum. He could fill up the space. Empathy makes peace possible. The message of peace actually started when the visitors come to the lobby of the museum. And peace is the core theme, value, mission, and underlying meaning of the museum. At the entrance of the museum, this flower sculpture that was designed by an architect and is made of metal is as a bouquet of wild flowers. And he also wrote a poem that comes with this sculpture. Thank you, Charmaine, to get it closer. Wild flowers, emblem of life's perseverance, flourishing and striving in the toughest conditions, and peace, the fundamental essence of life. Let's convey our unwavering yearning for peace with a bouquet of the most ordinary yet beautiful wild flowers. This sculpture was designed to symbolize the fragility and tenacity of peace. Like wild flowers, peace can thrive and flourish through the most adverse conditions. Last, September 21st is the International Day of Peace. And in the beginning of our exhibition, we have this quote: peace is not only a noble vision for humanity, peace is a call to action. I hope this quote resonates with all of us today, and let's take action to defend and guard peace together with groups and groups of young people who will need peace to strive through their journey in life. So that's my presentation. Thank you very much for your presence and your time.
Okay, thank you, Flora. Now we open our forum to questions and comments. Yes, Miss Fräulein Bunson Chantalabong. Go ahead, please.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Do speak about history, about World War II, Japan, in Asia, and so on. But now we see actually it's new kind of colonization from China in Southeast Asia, every day more and more, especially in Laos now. Inform land leasing from Lao government to Chinese investor. Now more than 50% of Laos is owned from Chinese investor. With corruption from government of Laos in every stage of the administration, the Lao people don't have right of expression. My question for you: how can we make again new aggression from China in Asia, especially Southeast Asia? We must make something against this problem. Why the new form from war, from dictatorship China against activists for human rights in Laos and in other countries in Southeast Asia will be more like in Ukraine later. My question for you, how can we make for NGO, our organization, against this aggression from China? Thank you.
Well, first of all, thank you for your question. So first of all, Alpha Education is education focused. Okay, so that's why we don't address to political questions, but we provide the ways for students to learn how to discern. As I said, we pose questions for them, so they will be also through our education programs. We focus a lot on critical thinking. You know, there are lots of information around the world, and there are lots of things happening. So how can they discern and about the misinformation, disinformation, or the right information? So these are the skills we will provide the students for them to make their own decision and understanding. So we provide also examples of human suffering. So basically, our focus of our education is on humanity and peace education. So we seldom address to international conflicts. Those are handled by other, other NGOs, but not our education. So we are focusing on teaching and on the how to address like students' identity, the racial discrimination issues. We've had a lot of programs on racial discrimination that's happening in Canada and North America. But we also, these are the approach and direction of our work, and the center of Alpha's work is on peace building issues and so on. So I don't know whether I can. So that's why I don't know how to answer your questions, unfortunately.
If I add, Ponat,
Yes, go ahead, Song Ho.
not answer, Bonthon, because your organization, okay, Alliance for Democracy in Laos, I'm sure you are very concerned about the status or situation of Laos. Yeah. I think that is the agenda of ASEAN. Like, even though ASEAN, they are not unified sometimes, but also I think some scholars here like Dr. Mikio Oishi, even today's moderator, Bernard, they can answer. Maybe they are their area, but the Flora is mostly like, the at NGO basis or civil society basis. They are focusing on the history education, history initiative, and the empowerment of the youth education, and particularly focus on the history of the World War II in Asia, right? World War II. She emphasized that the Alpha, because the foundation of Alpha, while the some like Asian the orientation, the people, they realize that the world war history is not taught about the Asian, the battle, the stage, okay, the field. That's why they initiated Alpha, this program. Okay, so I think some other friends like Professor Mikio Ishii or Bernard, if you think about
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Song Ho. The question of the Fraulein is aligned with the presentation, because we saw and we heard that an important part of the museum is that there is the beginnings and the entirety of World War II was due to militarism, imperialism, and colonialism. You said so in your museum. So simply put, peace, world peace must be anti-imperialist. World peace must be anti-militarist, and world peace must be anti-colonialist. In whatever forms colonialism and imperialism take then and now. And also, I must remind ourselves that the original United Nations that was formed in January 1942 came together with the single overarching mission of eradicating Hitlerism. It is in the documents of the United Nations. So we can take Hitlerism as one form of imperialism, militarism, and colonialism. And that is why we have an International Day of Peace, International Day of Democracy, because the mission remains to eradicate Hitlerism in its 21st century version. Wherever Hitlerism is found, be it in Europe, Africa, Asia, or Latin America. That's my contribution. So I hope it covers both Flora's presentation, because we saw it in your museum, and the Fraulein's question. So we are not saying anything that is marginal or extraordinary, because the very essence of the United Nations is to eradicate Hitlerism. And therefore, peace means to be anti-Hitlerite. So yes, let's see more questions and sharing and comments. Yes, Mr. Vitun, go ahead.
Yes, well, thank you very much. I think it was very interesting to learn about your museum. Actually, the reason I decided to join today is because of that, education for youth and museum. I used to have one, we call them Peace Fellow from Poland, who came to Bangkok for the program. And she has been running a museum as well in Poland. I think the name is No More Holocaust. And that is a big work that she and her husband has been working a lot on that. And then I was thinking of when I visited Cambodia many times with my Peace Fellows to visit an NGO called DC Cam, Documentation Center Cambodia. And I think they are doing a very good job as well. It's not a museum, it's an NGO. They're collecting all kinds of evidences and information during the Khmer Rouge period. And I really like that they said the reason they are doing that is because more than 50% of the Cambodian population were born after the Khmer Rouge period. So most people of Cambodia don't really know the history. So they think this is important for them to have evidence to show to the young generation. And now my question to you is, because you are running your museum, you have visitors coming, and you're basically educating them at the museum. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
And my question is, how do we kind of extend it to schools? If they're not visiting your museum, they may not have the opportunity to learn. But this kind of education is really important, in my opinion, that we should really have more, in school as well. So I don't know whether you have something like that you can share. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Vitun, for your question. Yes, absolutely. As I emphasized over times, that the museum is geared primarily for students. So Alpha, prior to the building of the museum, actually Alpha Education has been working with school boards for quite a long time. We have built relationships, signed a memorandum of understanding, and so on. We went to schools actually for workshops, conferences all the time in the past 20 years. So that's why when museums open, actually a number of school boards in Ontario, they are very excited. So we are working on a number of programs for teachers to bring their students. Actually, we have, since it's opening in July, we already, and the beginning of school in September, we already received registration, school visit registration from teachers. They are going to bring groups of students, and also when the student come, they would not just only visiting the museum. After the visit, they will be given a debriefing workshop on specific topics that is desired by the teacher. So we will work with the teacher on specific topic. 1.5 hours of visit definitely is not enough for the students who go through everything. But that's why when the teacher is working with us, and probably they want to learn about violence against women, and so we will design a tour for them and also a workshop afterwards for them to work on. So this is our focus, actually. That's why it's extremely busy with all the programs. It's based on the museum. So we hope that more and more teachers will come. We have programs also for the teachers as well. They will be introduced to the museum, and we also have connection with the Ontario History teachers, History and Social Science Teachers Association. They are very, very supportive of the museum. They have also connected with all the teachers, and so this is of a primary importance. And other than high school, the school's high school students or middle school, we have teachers with middle school also book the exhibitions for the students. And other than that, we also encourage our university students through the summer internship program, as well as the ongoing the university chapters, alpha chapters. So all the members will be they will be connected, and also they will be mentored to conduct research on this particular topic. So yeah, young people and students and schools, that's very central to our mandate.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, actually, I have my second question, and I'll go very quick. And this question is for everyone. It's not just for you, because we're talking about young people and youth. And my question is, in your country, do you find these young people, Gen Y, Gen Z, whatsoever, are they really interested in this topic, peace building, or they don't care? I don't know. I'm thinking of Thailand now, that I see a lot of young people, they don't really care much about this topic. They are more into, technology whatsoever, just
Maybe I can share with you first. Well, it is very difficult in the beginning, actually, to how to engage young people. And the world is changing very fast with all the technologies that they can explore, right? So it's very difficult. But as time goes, we see there are chances. Because there's a group, not everyone, but there's a group of young people, they are more aspired. They really want to do something to make this world a better place for them. They care about their future. Especially currently, we have quite a number of young, we call them alpha youth, from different universities, and we often talked. And especially in current days, we see there are lots of chaos, and these young people felt like, oh, we cannot just sit there or be a a bystander. We need to do something. So they would be aspire to, okay, how to build peace. And the way that Alpha teach about World War II in Asia is quite different, because we are focusing on peace, and we have peace building. We are focusing on youth, and we are trusting young people. So it is very important. They felt like they're trusted. That's why we have a number of university chapters, all initiated by young people. They are aspire students. Some are already medical, like they're medical students or law school students. So it's not just that science students won't, like, they don't like history. It's opposite for Alpha. We have quite a number of science students who are involved in Alpha chapters. So I guess it is how to engage them. They are interested in the future that they want to know what kind of future they can build.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think we still have time for 2 more questions.
We have question. James, okay, he raised his hand.
James, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sango. And thank you, Flora. And thank you, Mr. Vitun, for your question. It's so interesting. I'm from Ivory Coast. I work as a community development educator and also a peace educator, a peace builder. And one of our mission is to equip young people with the communication and the leadership skills necessary to address the root causes of hatred, discrimination, and conflict violence through the notion of authentic listening as a tool and story as a technique, storytelling. So to respond to Vitun's questions, if young people are interested on peace building, you see that the teaching of peace studies or conflict resolution has been so scientific defined in the past, and also has been so academically defined too. And in my 12 years of experience, I've come to realize that there is a new way to communicate the principles or the virtues of what peace ought to be to the young people, to apprehend it and see it close to themselves. So that is why, to demystify the word peace or violence, we bring it back through a transformative definition whereby peace is a behavior and violence is also a behavior. So, and the youth today are curious to align themselves to the future, just like you said, the quest of who I want to become in the future and what is the path that will lead me to get to that future. And evidence has proven that not only acquiring university certificates on being a mathematician or a medical doctor or an architect will help you to get to that path. But how do you understand that foundational habits forms our character and interpersonal habit forms our personality? So how do we get that done? So we now defining a transformative education of peace so that the youth can discover their self. So when I brings in peace leadership in these models, I brings it on a 4-modular definition whereby I define peace leadership as a journey of self-discovery, or a journey of sustainable collaboration, a journey of invitation of individuals or more people in that journey to dignify equally And dignity for me is an expression of respect of the other. So you find out that you bring the youth or the young people to do what I call an introspection of self. What behavior should I stop? Or should I start? Or should I continue that will inflict aggression or violence of the other? And that for the youth, for them to put themselves on the shoe of the other. That is why we teach about empathy. We teach about compassion. We teach about active listening. And we teach about self-regulatory process of human self-transformation, of a kind of self-awareness to self-management and social management to social management. The social awareness, social management. So this is the parameters of transformation that we brings into the youth for they themselves to see what truly peace is before that you tell them what it means to build peace. So let me just stop there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, James. Yeah, actually, what you have mentioned is exactly what we teach in our programs. And I really appreciate what you have just said. It is very important. Peace is not just a word. It has to have action, and how to build is a transformational. I would love to further connect with you in our peace education work. It is. Thank you.
Okay, we have time for one last question or comment.
May I question? One
Okay,
more.
so Sung will have the
Yes.
last word.
Okay.
Right,
Thank you again, Flora. Okay. Early morning. Okay. You join us. Okay. Got up early morning to join us in the morning from Toronto, and it's belated, but we really sincerely, congratulate on your grand opening. Okay, in June, last June. To raise a fund to establish your museum, Asia the Pacific Peace Museum. I know you work very hard on your team. Since inauguration of this museum, I think the maintenance of the museum is another job, another work. And how could you the financial maintenance, how could you solve it to keep maintaining this museum? I think it's another the assignment. And you already in the picture you showed your some connection with other peace museums. Okay, so would you talk a little more about your plan or any collaboration with other peace museums, like in Japan I know the peace museums, or some Asia and some other countries. So if you can tell us a little more your plan for the collaboration. Okay.
Sure. Yeah. So you have two questions. One is the financial sustainability, right? The other is our plan. They are both important. Well, we are already a member of the International Network for Museum for Peace. So we will be glad to work together with all the other peace museums in further contribute to the global movement for peace. So how to, first of all, the museum, as I mentioned, is totally supported by individual donors, foundations, and so we are not funded by any government. So it is financially, of course, it is very challenging for us to, first of all, raise funds to build a museum, but we are very grateful that we have people who resonate with the mandates, and they really think that it's so important to build the world's first one for the English speakers, English-speaking audiences and the young people. So we were able to build a museum, and then in our planning, we will need to continue our fundraising to build up a strong endowment fund so that the museum can continue its work. And our young team will continue the mission of Alpha without worrying that the organization will stop functioning. Right. So I think that is a practical question for many non-government organizations or even charities in the world, not just in Canada. That's why our board pays a lot of attention to the viability, sustainability of this museum and the work of Alpha. Because the museum is an undertaking, a huge undertaking, but at the same time, we also have other programs as well. Like we are actually working on another big project. It's a digital museum. This one is funded by the Digital Museum of Canada. We are going to build a new site where people around the world can come to the site and learn about not just the history, but from the perspective of hope and peace. So it is very interesting, very innovative way of presenting the history of World War II with hope and peace in mind. Our team is working very hard on that. It's going to be a 3-year project. And at the same time, we are also finishing a publication with 5 volumes. The publication is covering the history and legacy of World War II in Asia. It is primarily for teachers. That teachers around the world can use it because it provides a lot of not just the information, but in the educational angle, where teachers can pick up certain contents and develop their lesson plan. So this big project again, it's been lasting for 10 years or more than 10 years, but now after the museum is built and we are now at the final stage to wrap up this, it will come in 5 volumes. Each volume focus on certain theme, and each one comes with lesson plan and so on. So even teachers in Korea can use this material, and they can design their own lesson plan, because different curriculum and different systems, right, have in different countries. So this is meant for universal use. So I will share with you more with these 5 volumes of a teacher's guide. So we haven't confirmed about the title yet, but the first 2 volumes should be able to be published in the next years, in 2025. And so this is some of our more major plans, but alongside with many ongoing programs.
Excellent.
Okay, so can we give the last word to Mikio? We still have time.
Okay.
Dr. Mikio.
Okay, Mikio, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My Wi-Fi, I was disconnected from my Wi-Fi for maybe about 10 minutes. So I don't know. Yeah, and what happening? But maybe this is my comment, my response from what Miss Flora said. Had a presentation, and maybe mostly it's a comment, and then maybe I may ask one question maybe later. So my response is that I think it's good for all of us to learn the process of dehumanization. how certain situation, how certain program or whatever contribute to the dehumanizing the people, right? And then, of course, in case of the Second World War and the Japanese people, and usually Japanese people may be considered rather peace-loving people, right? but somehow before the Second World War, for quite some time, maybe since the start of the Meiji Restoration, and then Japanese leaders and took up the imperialism, and that one is the trend at that time. And for the Japanese leaders and for Japan to survive among the Western imperialist countries, Japan should become one of the imperialist country, right? And then also, I think that's the start of the problem until the big surrender after the Second World War. Then also, I think it's good. And what happened? And I feel a particularly important one is the Japanese military education system. The education may be newly recruited, newly conscripted Japanese youth. They were put into the military barrack, right? Maybe you already know about this story, right? And this is called Naimuhan education. Naimuhan education. This one is a system in which maybe all the soldiers educate the newly recruited soldiers. And this one also involves the lynching and physical violence and whatever. By so doing, those young new recruits, new conscript Japan people, their humanity is systematically destroyed, right? And I think this one contributes a lot to the inhuman actions on the battlefield and also occupied area. And I think already some researchers also reveal how this systematic dehumanization took place. But also it's good for this forum to have the common understanding maybe of this one. Yeah? And then of course this legacy is also maybe this tendency also took over by maybe from other countries, and particularly Myanmar military adopted a lot of this method. Maybe, and also I feel maybe to some degree to maybe South Korean military in the past. I don't think now, but yeah, all these things. And this is one thing, and also, and from the peace and conflict studies perspective, and we usually consider, and maybe human brain maybe are consisted of reptilian brain, like dinosaurs, reptile brain. That one is more instinct, right? Instinctive part of our brain. Then, of course, the other part is the human brain. And often the peace studies and try to understand how we as a human, we cease to be human under certain conditions, especially when we are overwhelmed by the sense of the threat, right? Threat. Then we cease to be human beings, maybe temporarily, hopefully. And in that case, this reptilian brain took over the whole control of our mind. Then the reptilian brain have three things in reaction to the threat. Yeah? So first one is to run away from the scene. Second one is to fight back. Then third one is freeze, just freeze on the spot. So this is the reptilian brain. And so many people, including ourselves, often under the often this reptilian brain take over our control. So our challenge is how the human brain control this reptilian brain. Yeah? And the human brain, of course, try to understand the threat, the nature of threat, together with its soul. So maybe our challenge in each of us, because each of us may be subject to the overwhelming sense of threat, right? So I think it's good, and this is our challenge, that how to maintain the control of the human brain over the reptilian brain, so that we continue to be human beings under overwhelming threat. And one question is, and you are talking about youth education, right? And this is very, very important. And maybe I once asked you the same question, because I have been listening to your story several times until now. So how, because maybe you have already answered this question, but I'm still wondering how the young people in Canada, maybe most of them, maybe Asian young people, how do they relate themselves to the experience of the war? And that one, they hear from their parents or grandparents, right? And then because of this, maybe there are certain, maybe that one influence, right? The relationship. Maybe there are, of course, there are Korean youth and the Chinese youth and also even Japanese youth, right? And then somehow this one and had the impact on their relationship, right? But still eventually somehow, and they kind of overcome some historical baggage or something. So I'm still wondering how do the young people relate themselves to the war experience, right? Because this is not their daily experience. Maybe can you share a little bit about it? Thank you.
Okay, it's a great question. Actually, I have conducted a qualitative research on the young people in Canada, when the experiences with alpha education, what are the impacts? So it's a pretty long thing, but I will summarize it in very shortly. The most powerful thing when they first encounter this history, because they did not have the chance to learn about any Asian history, not just the history of World War II, but anything Asian, is pretty much Eurocentric. So the first time they encounter, when we went to school and talk about this history, it is the cultural relevance. It dawned on a lot of the East Asian students. You know, we were also surprised every time when we finish a workshop in school that the young students will come up and they want to get connected with our education. And these high school students, when they went to university, they continue. The reason, one big reason, is the cultural relevance. And that is very powerful for their learning. So it will actually motivate them to want to learn more. Even the students, they are science students, but because this cultural relevance really hit them hard. And also this is the assertion of their identity. They are sometimes born in Canada. Sometimes, well, they do not really know whether they are, say, Korean, Canadians, or what. But at home, there are lots of like Korean cultural things that may be taught by their parents, but where in school there's totally none, right? Chinese or Korean. So it is very important for them to ascertain their identity as Chinese Canadian or Korean Canadian or Japanese Canadian. With this history, they felt like their identity is recognized. So it is a very important process, and also explain why some of the students are so passionate about Alpha's work, because there's nowhere else. And more than that, they felt like they were trusted, because with the uncertain identity, that it is important for that they always felt like, I'm nobody, I'm not Canadian, I'm not Chinese, or not Korean. So this process is extremely important. So I guess that's the immediate impact. Of course, there are many others as well in my study, but these are the immediate response that the that the Korean or Chinese or Japanese young people. But of course, their response would be quite different between like Korean and Japanese young people when they first heard about this history. But in general, the impact is huge for them, and pretty much positive. And actually, it is surprising, not just the East Asian students. We have students from Southeast Asia, the Filipino students, or even Jewish students. And recently, one of the chapter's executives, they are from also from South Asia. The executives, I asked them why they're passionate, because they felt like this kind of atrocities, human atrocities happened in different parts, and they are really, they want to get to know more and see how a young person can do to make the wrongs right. So I think this can summarize how the young people respond to Alpha's.
Okay. Thank you very much. And you create a very good film. Young Korean, Chinese, and the Japanese youth living in Korea come together to make a cooking. Through cooking, and they kind of understand each other, and they just talk about their own identity things. So I was very much impressed with this film, definitely that is a good film and to be recommended to those people here. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, with that, we close tonight's session and pass the mic back to Song-ho. Thank you, Dr. Mikio. Thank you, Flora.
Thank you. Okay, Professor Bernard. Okay, Bernard, thank you for your service as a moderator. Okay, and today's, the presenter, speaker, Ms. Flora Chong from Canada. Okay, Alpha Education. Okay. Personally, I have a very good memory in 2020. My History NGO Forum, our regular, overseas conference, the first conference in Toronto. I wish we could hold it again in the future. Okay, okay, because we can use the facilities there, right? The Asia, the Pacific Peace Museum. Okay, wonderful. The space, and we can also see this museum, right? Okay, that's our
very welcome.
Yeah, that's our home. Okay. Thank you, Flora, once again for your presentation. Your plan and your experience, and also sparing time. Okay, we are in different time. Okay, here in Korea, around 10:30. Okay, but your place is maybe in the morning, or maybe 10:30. Okay, anyway. Okay. But I feel since we started this forum online connection, you are very close neighbor, like in the neighbor, right? Okay, you are very far away across the Pacific, but we are like. We call it always Rebecca, my friend Rebecca likes global, the family, okay, like a global family, okay. So we really enjoy these networking, and our partnership, okay. As time is almost up, and I would like to announce, okay, our next program. 2 weeks later, okay, October 17th is our next forum, 119th, okay, our Global Thursday Forum. The topic is very timely and very interesting. The November 5th, okay, here, okay, Madam Crystal McDonald is here. I discussed it with her, this topic. The American presidential election, okay, November 5th, and it's not only for America, but for many countries, okay. It's very, important, okay? So even particularly Korea, okay, Korea, because of Korea peninsular situation or something policy. So there are very contrasting two candidates, okay? They're in the United States. So I'm very, very interested in this result. And I have one candidate in mind, but I cannot say for in public here, but later I can tell you. Okay, okay. So the topic is the 2024 United States presidential election, understanding the process and the possible outcomes. Okay, very interesting. Possible outcomes. Okay, and the speaker presenter. I really thank the Crystal McDonald for arranging and introducing, recommending this wonderful speaker, Dr. Mark Gopin. Okay, my pronunciation is right. Okay, Dr. Mark Gopin. He is the professor and the director of the Center for World Religions, Diplomacy, and Conflict Resolution at the George Mason University's Jimmy and Rosalind Carter School for Peace and Conflict Resolution. Okay, he's very well known, the scholar. He has very, a rich profile, okay, very rich profile. And he could spare time, okay. I really appreciate his time, okay, sparing time for this, to touch this topic is quite difficult, okay. Even though he mentioned that he gave this topic possible outcomes, okay, it's very interesting. It's very interesting. Okay, so I hope you can join and spare time next forum, okay, October 17th, okay. Very interesting. Personally, I'm very interested in this topic too, okay. So we can discuss more about the American presidential election, okay. Okay, Crystal, anything you'd like to add it on this topic or this, okay?
No, thank you. Because the anticipation of all this discussion is great. So,
Okay.
thank you.
So hope to see you 2 weeks later, October 17th. Okay, so everybody, thank you for staying with us and your participation and this discussion. Okay, so Flora, have a wonderful day, and also
Thank you.
all of you have a wonderful day. Good night. Okay, here in East Asia. Okay, bye bye, everybody. Okay.
Bye bye. Bye bye. Thank you.